So now that we've joined this group, you should have each of the sections represented from the framework. And this is the point in our process where you will be sharing the full picture together. So whoever is representing group 1 should be the first person to share with the table, and then moving from there chronologically through to 8. If you don't have everyone, it's okay. Just pass over that section and we'll have a group discussion. Please keep in mind to keep your comments very brief and stick to the main points that your group determined before the break. And finally, in the middle, you should have some index cards. Okay, right. So I'm going to ring our chime, our attention chime.
Then come up with collective questions.
Yeah, the see, think, wonder. I'll tell. Could I have everyone looking up here? Raise your hand if you can hear my voice. Raise your hand if you can hear my voice. Raise your hand if you can hear my voice. Okay, thank you. So after each person has presented in this table, what I'd like for you to do, we would like for you to write down anything that you see, think, or wonder that are questions that come to mind after hearing from everyone. And these will be posed in a brief, large group discussion with the entire group. Okay? Is everyone clear on the instructions? Yes. So first we'll have about 10 minutes briefly to go through each of the major points, section 1, section 2, section 3, all the way through the framework. And then you will write down your see, think, wonder on a card that you will post for the larger group discussion. All right, so the 10 minutes begins now.
They had one extra person, but then a new person just joined us.
Okay.
So he hasn't read anything before. So I just had him sit there with that because he knows someone in that group. So just so you know, there's that large.
Perfect.
Thank you, for doing that. Because
there were a lot of people. There's a whole table not talking.
Writing down right in the beginning. At first, they share each.
Yeah, exactly. Group 1 should be sharing. Anyone who is representing section 1, you should be sharing. Then move on to group 2, 3, 4, etc. Are they? Because we really did a lot of the work for them. Usually, we're flexible. We're so flexible. With our bodies and our mind. A challenge language-wise for, to represent a full group if you don't feel comfortable.
it is.
And yeah. Okay, sounds great. Here, I'll do. On the big screen? I wish I could, I guess I could just turn this off. So they're going to each Help Now station to chart their experience. And then
Okay, I'm going to ask everyone to just finish up whatever thought you're on right now so we can have a large group discussion. And were you able to get to the end, or some of you not quite yet? Almost. One more, two more. Two more you have? That's okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind just finishing up your thought, we're going to have a large group discussion about this. Okay, I'm going to ask you to give your attention to the larger group now instead of your table group. I know it's challenging to break away from the conversation. So we did this activity for two purposes. One is because we wanted to give you a sense of the process of what doing an activity like this is like. How many of you have used this process with your students before? Okay, there is maybe about 10 people, and then the rest of you, it was a new process to you. Okay, great. We realized that maybe not everyone got to discuss, and maybe there was one group missing from your table group or something, right? Not every group was perfectly arranged. Anyway, it was imperfect process that we just had. So in the spirit of being flexible, just to tell you up front, we do not have the expectation that after this process, you know everything about what you just read or even presented or any of that. We fully expect that you will need additional time to read through the materials and question the materials and use them and all of that. So this was not intended to provide you with everything you need to know about the reading that you just did. And actually there's a lot of reading in this program. There's the framework to be read, there's the different chapters of the curriculum, which we have not even looked at yet. And then there's an explanation on the personal domain, the social, and the systems. So if we were to read everything all here together, it would be 4 days of reading, right? And we understand that's not the best use of your time, but we wanted to plan something in to get you started on this process. So this was a start of an exploration of the concepts and the materials, which we'll also be exploring through activities in other ways. So I just wanted to debrief the process that we used so everyone was clear on sort of what happened during this process, right? So the first step was that we assigned you reading of a particular section, right? And then you got into a group with other people so you could discuss just that particular piece of content. Yeah? And what did you do in your small group when you were there? Highlighted the important points, okay? So we gave you some criteria to say, pick out a few important points. Maybe your important points were slightly different than some others in your group. Maybe there were some similarities. That's all fine because then you could discuss it together. And then we mixed you up so that you could share what you learned with other people who read a different section, right? Again, sharing those 3 points. So how many of you feel like you were able to learn some more information about the content through this process? Were you able to learn some more information about the content? Okay, fantastic. That's the point behind it. Not all of the information, but some more, yes? Amongst yourselves. How many of you came up with questions about the information as you were reading it or discussing it? Some additional questions. Okay. We want to make sure that we capture those questions. And we saw some questions written on the feedback forms you gave us yesterday, so we're carefully going through those so we can attempt to answer those questions. But many, many more questions will come up. Each time, new material, more questions. And actually, we support that. That's part of critical thinking, right? So would you like to just think about anything about this process that was a challenge for you? Did you come across anything that was challenging? I would just love to hear from the group.
We still have one person who is not shared, so no, I just wanted that,
Yes.
And the last person who is not shared, we can hear. So maybe additional 30 seconds would be great.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else like to share?
So I actually picked this book for the very first time. So because I had to jump to a portion and not read it fully, basically I was not able to relate to a few things. So I thought that if I would have read some sides of probably everything, it would have made more sense for me.
I'm like you, I'm a whole picture person. So some people are challenged by reading a section and not the whole. How many of you fit into that category? Anybody else relate to that? I'm raising my hand because I also relate to that. So that's one of the challenges of the jigsaw, of this approach. But this is, again, this is a beginning into the material, and then you can, of course, this wouldn't be where you would end it. If you're covering material like this with your students, you would continue to have them go back and maybe read the full thing and maybe do their own reflection and writing and additional activities, right? So that can be a challenge for some people. Yes?
First reading the introduction part, and then not having to point out anything from there, and then jumping to the next section, and then being time-bound.
Yes.
So we have to, I feel like many of us may have quickly noted down whatever came up that looked important, not getting deep into the content that we read, because we have to pick out 3 points to share with the rest of the group. So I don't think we have done a total justice to the task.
Yeah. Thank you. The time is always an issue. How many of you have challenges with time in your classroom space when you're working with kids and content? Yes, we relate to that. Anybody else want to point out a challenge with this process? Yes?
Challenging will be in the classroom when we will experience in real. Here we are just going the theory, so we don't know what we are going to, like, what problem is going to pop up in the class, in actual real situation. So I normally feel how I'm going to do in the class, though it's very easy here, where we can do with so much of fun. They are going to do it alone, so it's difficult in real situations. Like, so that is challenging what I feel.
Yes, thank you. And the only way to figure that out is to do it in the real situation, and then you find out what the challenges are. That's what we do, right? That's what we do. We try, but it takes courage to do this, because you might feel it might not work so well the first time, or there's things you had hoped would happen that are not happening, or maybe even unexpected things that come up for you. And this is why that we try to generate a lot of internal commitment to the rationale for the C learning and our strong desire to do this kind of work, so that we can face setbacks like this and challenges like this and continue on. And one of the things we're going to do is facilitate communication among people who've attended the training, so you can help each other out with ideas and maybe problem solve some of the things that come up for you.
Okay, one of the challenges, practically I'm speaking in this common ground, that we learned about the first learning information, and then there's critical insight, that aha moment, or we can say in Tibetan, aha moment, that is missing in behind, because you give us task as we have to read. This is not only to have a skim reading. If we do skim reading, we are missing that moment, aha moment, critical insight, that was missing. So that was really very challenging. All of us agree with that.
Thank you. Thank you, yes. It is usually not possible to have critical insight during reading activities and even sharing. We must do additional activities to have that. Yeah, this was all received knowledge. Yes. Anybody else want to share? Okay, does anyone think that you, despite the challenges, you might try a modified version of this with your students? Anyone think you might use it? Yes? Okay, that's good to know. We are going to move now actually into another type of activity that's not reading. Again, this was just overview and some time for engagement in this reading, but we have actual more interactive activity to do next. What I would like you to do though, if you have a burning question about the material, please write it down on an index card or a piece of paper on your table and leave that there for us, or leave it in the back for us, or leave it on your feedback form, because we have 2 more days and we'd like to address some of these burning questions as they come up. You can also put it, yes, if it's already in there in the feedback form, that's great. Thank you. And I think if some of you did not get to share during that activity, we're just going to ask that you be flexible with the timing right now, because we have such a large group that it's not always possible that every person does the exact same thing. But one thing to keep in mind is that you are a participant in the group through listening and sharing and questioning and engagement in a variety of ways. So as far as we're concerned, even if not everybody gets to the end of a task in a group, if you're giving that attention and focus and engaging, it's exactly what you need to be doing and what we like to see happening. So we apologize if we didn't get to you, but want to just invite you to have that flexible attitude about it. Thank you.
So at this point, we're going to capture one question from each table. So if you could compile your questions and maybe distill into one question per table, we'll capture them here, and then we'll address those. So why don't we start with table A, and we'll give you your 30 seconds also to finish your group discussion afterwards. But we would like to hear of a question if you have one. And if your table doesn't have one, then we can move. You could say pass, and we can move to the next table. Does group A have?
We didn't get any time, so we can
Okay.
ask them later. We can discuss.
Sounds great. Group B, do you have a question? A see, think, wonder question? They're now getting some papers, so that's confusing.
That's okay. That's okay. You can just leave.
The papers.
Group B, are you passing or no? You're ready? You're ready.
Hello?
Hello?
Can I speak Kannada?
If someone translates, yes, please. I would love to hear Kannada.
Okay.
Okay.
In our school, ಸುಮಾರು ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಏನಿಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಲೇಜಿ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಕಂಪೇಷನ್ ಕರುಣೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರಬೇಕಾ ಅಥವಾ ಇರಬಾರ್ದಾ ಅಂತ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಏನು ಓದಲ್ಲ, ತುಂಬಾ ಲೇಜಿ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾನೆ ಬರ್ಬೇಕಾ? ಸೊ ಅದು ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರಬೇಕಾ ಅಥವಾ ಇರಬಾರ್ದಾ? This is my question. Please translate.
Hi, so Bhuwana is asking that in her school there are some kids who don't do their homework and who are pretty laid back, and she, as someone who facilitates sessions in her class, is asking how much compassion should teachers have? Should teachers have a lot of compassion or little compassion, depending on the sort of kids that she works with?
Thank you. Next group, ready?
C, group C. Do you have a question?
My question is,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
our research, I came across a point like self-compassion, and I'm confused this with self-cherishing. So we have to differentiate between these two.
Self-compassion versus self-cherishing.
So can I add one more question?
Yes.
So when we were in discussion, so
it's all about awareness, compassion, kind, about yourself and others. So I was wondering if I do have explained this into my classroom. So I was wondering what is mind? So can you explain what is mind and what are the natures of mind, so that I can relay that all this compassion, kindness to my children.
Yeah.
Let me ask one question from this group. Yeah, about human values. For the many decades, actually human values are inherited through rich tradition and cultural sources. Like we are derived from our ancient culture and tradition, came from our parents. But now, due to materialization, materialistic world, these days what scientists or experts are trying to impart human values through education. So one of the topics we had is through imparting human values, inner values through education. So my doubt is like how far it's going to be really successful by imparting human values. Although I agree that by setting positive role models, we can to some extent, like we say that in schools, teachers show a positive role model. The children follow their teachers. But my still very big question is, how far it's going to be really successful by educating human values or reviving our ancient culture and tradition? This is going to be more important, which I personally feel. So I need some insight on this from you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, from Group D, I have one question. As it says, sacred ethics is grounded with 3 pillars: common experience, common sense, and scientific thinking. So I was asked once by some other, and I explained this one. So I was in between, I was stuck. So from here, I would like to know more about, to clear about. So what is the differences between common sense and common experience? It seems that common sense is always in the common experience. So I was stuck with you, so that's why can you please help me? Thank you.
We would like to raise one more question, if you don't mind. So in classroom settings, what I usually face is that there are children which are very, say, bad mannered, or they are influencing the class in a very bad way. So if we try to be compassionate toward that particular student, are we not being, say, backlit toward the other student? So what is compassionate in that situation?
Oh, my question is, it's been stuck in my mind for a very long time, and we also have a lot of discussion on that question. That do we really need secular ethics, like ethics in education, where they already have like ethics education, traditional ethics education? And like, do we really need a separate system not based on religion, for those who already have a religious background and culture. Because this stuff many times in our campus we debate a lot.
Important question. So my question is really that, so one of the, this might be coming from very limited understanding, but it is when we talk about equanimity, right, that we don't judge something as good or bad. And we tend to do that with emotions quite a bit. And already as a culture, we have this widespread fear of emotions, or even complex feelings like loneliness and so on and so forth. And the minute you start to avoid certain mind states, that's when you develop certain symptoms, right? And in pedagogy like this, when we talk about emotions as being good or bad or harmful, then I understand how they are harmful and how they are useful. But can we adopt some alternative vocabulary which invites children to essentially explore and delve into emotions regardless of whether they are unpleasant or pleasant, just so that you stop avoiding and fearing something? And how can you truly look at anxiety or sadness or loneliness or rage or anything and be curious towards it and not look at it as, oh my god, this is poison and I cannot be feeling this? But how do we really own it, saying this is one of my states right now and I want to understand it better? So some sort of alternative vocabulary.
Chapter 4.
Yeah, I had a question about how do we try to make the children and the youngsters understand about the basic human values and separating it from the conditioning that they are influenced into religious faith and fundamentalism of religious. Because during my experience, I met with a Muslim young guy, and I was trying to tell him about how we are all common in terms of basic human experiences and values. And he outrightly rejected and said, no, I'm a born Muslim, so I don't see myself as a common person, you know. So I feel it's very challenging to, talk to such youngsters who are really deeply ingrained in that kind of fundamentalism. So.
My question is, according to social emotional ethics learning or secular ethics, what is the sort of main purpose like? For instance, like philosophical terms, like man's purpose or man's method in sort of this system. Do you think is there any difference between secular ethics and specifically social emotional ethics learning? I mean, is man purpose or man's method?
What is that?
I couldn't quite understand the question.
Jen, did you pick up that?
Maybe could you
I'm
say
not
a
quite
little bit
clear.
more about
I'm not clear either.
미어라. also 프랑카리 있는 집 미기시오라. 미세대 탑시지를 미세대 미기레스로. 그냥 미 탑시 시스템들이 야들 복수마고라. 그냥 나춘로는 문제는 미스 탑시 놓치소라. 탑로지라고. 드레싱 그냥 잠수 바로다 들어요. 드레싱 앞에 요잖아. 대신은 것도 시야시가 말도 이제 같이 말하다. 그냥 같은 나라다. 대신은 달라가니 secular ethics 아니 social emotional ethics learning then 나올라 내가 소리다. 민변을 줘라. 너도 보니 수다는 거였어.
No.
같은 의미를 줘야다.
No. I hope I understood correctly, but what I understand is ultimately what is the purpose of this program? Social emotional ethical learning or secular ethics? Is it does it see a human being or a person as a tool or as an object to kind of so I'm not quite sure how do you explain that?
Does it see a person
Yeah,
as
is
a
this
tool?
human being treated as an object or the means to
means to achieve something greater goal.
Was your mic off? Was your microphone off? Oh, I don't know why she bringing the mic over to you. Okay.
I think that will spark our memory as we're talking. Any other questions?
I have a doubt. So we are all here as a learner right now on secular right? But when we go back to school, we have to educate other teachers and students, right? So as an educator on secular ethics, what kind of qualities do we need to possess? Like, because I remember when we started forming committee in our school principal randomly picked some teachers to be the member of the committee in order to train other teachers to teach students. So that time there were lots of discussion in the staff room, like what kind of values these teachers and that principal have displayed in them. And so there is lots of discussions and questions within the teachers themselves. Obviously the same questions will be arised in the student, right? So what kind of qualities, like for a counselor, it's very important for us to be very non-judgmental. There are certain principles that we need to follow, right? So for an educator in this, what qualities do you think we need to imbibe in ourselves? Thank you.
While discussing lots of problems on a personal, interpersonal, social level, the answer that comes up, the problem, so many of them have roots which are systemic.
All of them.
So my question is, I'm just seeking validation whether this program is an approach to solve those major systemic problems, because they're so embedded in the fabric of the system that they need you cannot approach them from outside. So is it an approach to start at the very basic, fundamental and change the structure of the system, sort of?
Are we doing just general questions now? Because we have half an hour to lunch.
As a member of the security
You should tell them, let's make it
we
last
have
question.
classes for the security classes from kindergarten to class 10. And for the private classes and the kindergarten classes, even it mentions here to kindergarten to class 12, so this is regarding the internet. So for the senior classes, we can actually implement doing lecturing methods and all. For the kindergarten and the private classes, so we have a class, so they will when we do the lecturing method, somehow they will be listening to us, but they will not completely understand what we are going to say. And is there any way to implement demonstrations, formal implementation of the C-learning for the kindergarten and private classes? So that I need the suggestion from that one. So that when I will be back to the school, I will be implement for the kindergarten and private classes for the without lecturing them. Thank you.
So most of you have received, well, you've all received the middle school curriculum, which is our lessons for the middle school level, but we're currently writing the early elementary version, which is for the younger children, kindergarten, first and second grade, and that is will be completed in a few months. People are currently already using the draft lessons that we have, and we're more than happy to share those with you. So you have the early elementary lessons, which are aimed at the younger level, just so quickly I could answer that for you, so you would know that we have that resource for you and are happy to share it. Jen, it's just time, it's 12.
Okay, so one last question.
I want to read one statement given here by Amir Raj, the neuroscientist. He has written, if you have good attentional control, you can do more than just pay attention to someone speaking at a lecture. You can control your cognitive process, control your emotions, better articulate your actions. You can enjoy and gain an edge
So this is his statement. So my question is, though there are some theories how to control your attention, but then when we have to implement in a school setup, these theories doesn't work well. So what I want is like how to control the attention of a child by through some activities. If you can give to us, it will be very helpful. We can't give theories to all the child; they won't understand also. If we give theories to the teachers also, they won't understand. Though some of them might not have a background of psychology. So if we can gain some activity base of how to control attention, because the passage we had in the group was on cognitive and impulsive control, and for that to control that impulse and cognitive, the main thing was sustained attention. If you have a sustained attention, you can control your cognitive and impulsive. So which means attention is a very important point here. So if we have to inculcate that attention control in our child in a school setting, if we can have some activity base, that would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Question.
Hi, I'm Reshma. I have a question. Perhaps it's a little premature, but given the trend of the question that is being asked, I'm just choosing to voice some thoughts. What struck me was that this specific program actually talks about the cultivation of these human values, which is a very, very wonderful, spectacular potential that we all possess. However, I'm just wondering in terms of the efficacy of this program, particularly at this stage, whether it's presumptive on our part to assume that a teacher or organization can roll out this program without perhaps some immersive work. And what I mean is teacher readiness. And if there is perhaps some kind of thought or work in progress where teachers are trained for a slightly longer period of time, and those that are in some way ready are then able to roll this program out. Otherwise, I'm kind of afraid that it might not necessarily be as effective as one needs to be. So the groundwork aspect is something that I'm just wondering about.
Very good. All wonderful questions. So,
thank you.
I don't know if this is on.
Is it on?
No, it isn't.
Let me see. Hold on. It is on.
It needs to be handled from there.
What is our time limit? We have
25 minutes.
25 minutes until our
Lunch?
Okay.
Or 20 minutes, actually. 20 minutes.
So what we would like to do, we'll sit with these questions. Thank you for these, and we can address these when we have some time. I know that there's one group that wanted about 30 seconds more. So what I'll do is just provide you with an overview of what the next activity is. And maybe that group can pause for a moment before undertaking the next insight activity. So we're actually going to be moving directly into the content of our Chapter 2 material. And our middle school curriculum will mainly be focusing on this Chapter 2 on building resiliency. And you'll be doing this in an experiential way. First, by going through some of the activities yourselves that the children will undergo. And then you'll be doing a collaborative learning project with one another where you will actually teach the lessons to each other in a mock classroom. Some of you have done this before, but we're going to be specifically talking about Chapter 2, and that will be what we end our day with as far as the activities go, and then we'll have a short presentation which we'll talk about afterwards. So the first part of this process, I don't know if you've noticed, but around the room we have different stations. And these stations we refer to as help now strategies. So I'm actually not going to tell you a lot about it because I'd like for you to engage them sort of out of curiosity and experimentation and playfulness, but also with a task. And that task is going to be, it's up to you each to move throughout the room as you wish, to engage with every help now strategy that's posted around. There are 9, and in your curriculum book, which is this one, we have a reference page. And this will be your guide, as well as the packet that you were given earlier. There's a worksheet inside on the very, in the middle, that shows a body outline here. So this should actually be a silent process in which you're doing all of these stations reflectively. And the reason I say silently is because you're having to attune to your inner landscape, something that requires you to be attentive to what's happening in terms of your sensations on the inside. So you'll be looking at page 38 of the Social, Emotional, and Ethical Learning Middle School Curriculum book. And you'll also be using your body outlines in order to chart your experience. Please note that you will be using 2 different types of language. One of them is determining if you do have a sensation that occurs within your body, determine whether it's a pleasant, unpleasant, or a neutral sensation. Okay? So this will be documented for each of your stations. And then the second language, you'll actually be developing as you experiment sensation language. So sensation language is really about a direct physical, physiological sensation. So maybe we can think of a couple words to just help prompt us. What are some sensation words that come to mind? Warm, cold, okay. Itchy, okay. Heavy, okay. What is an example of a word that is not a sensation word? Beautiful, exactly. Language that has a judgment or an appraisal, right? This is not a sensation word, okay? The same emotion language, right? If we say that, oh, I'm feeling happy, is this a sensation word? No. We have to get down to the level of sensation. Tingly, itchy, warm, right? These are some examples. Tight, yes, exactly. And you'll be noticing where these are happening in the body. And on your body outlines, you'll actually make marks that denote that feeling for you. So there's no right or wrong answer. So for example, tight. This might be represented by some marks, right? And some marks might look more tight than other marks. So you'll just determine for yourselves what those will look like. So we have 2 different sets of language as you start on your exploration of the stations. One is unpleasant, pleasant, and neutral. It's quite simple. And the other is the sensation language. Okay, and noting what it feels like in the body. If you find that a station is unpleasant for you, then switch to another station, okay? We don't want you to stick with that station. If it's unpleasant, switch to another station. All right, are you all ready? And we'll give you a time limit, but you can go ahead and stand up and make your way to the different yellow stations.
How much time would you like? It's 12:15, so.
Recalibrate time.
Okay.
These are so important.
Yeah,
They're loudly important. So important we should shout them.
No.
Where we need to make the notes?
You make a note if you get a sensation when you do it.
Oh.
So I see yellow,
You have to name them.
blue, you name them. You did one station, so now you can find another station.
So for this we need a water?
That you need water, so it's hard
I
to
can
do.
go and drink the water and come back.
You can. It's up to you. It's a freedom.